Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to take you inside a place that few Americans ever see, yet one that reflects deep truths about justice, punishment, and humanity. Angola Prison, officially known as the Louisiana State Penitentiary. Spanning over 18,000 acres, Angola is the largest maximum security prison in the United States, and for many incarcerated there, it is not just a prison. It is a final destination. Life inside Angola is defined by permanence. A large portion of the prison population is serving life sentences, many without the possibility of parole. This reality shapes the atmosphere of the prison, where hope, time, and freedom take on entirely different meanings. Days are structured around labor, routine, and survival, often under harsh conditions rooted in the prison's history as a former slave plantation. Yet Angola is more than razor wire and locked gates. Inside its walls are complex human stories of regret, violence, resilience, and transformation. Some incarcerated men find purpose through education, religion, work programs, and mentorship, striving to redefine themselves despite the limits placed on their futures. Programs such as faith-based initiatives and prison-run education offer glimpses of rehabilitation in a place designed primarily for punishment. The documentary challenges us to confront uncomfortable questions. What is the true purpose of prison? Is it retribution, deterrence, rehabilitation, or simply isolation? Angola stands as a powerful symbol of America's criminal justice system, revealing both its failures and its possibilities for reform. Ultimately, life inside Angola Prison forces us to look beyond the label of criminal and see human beings, flawed, accountable, but still capable of change. Understanding Angola is not just about understanding a prison. It's about understanding ourselves and the society that built it. Angola Prison, officially known as the Louisiana State Penitentiary, is recognized as the largest maximum security prison in the United States, both in terms of physical size and inmate population. Covering approximately 18,000 acres of land, the facility is so vast that it resembles a small, isolated town rather than a traditional prison. It is surrounded on three sides by the Mississippi River, which contributes to its natural isolation and has historically made escape nearly impossible. This geographical remoteness reinforces Angola's reputation as one of the most secure and inescapable prisons in the country. The prison houses thousands of inmates, the majority of whom are classified as maximum security due to the severity of their crimes. Many prisoners are serving long-term or life sentences, meaning Angola functions less as a temporary holding facility and more as a permanent place of confinement. The scale of the prison requires extensive infrastructure, including multiple housing units, work camps, medical facilities, churches, and administrative buildings, all operating within the boundaries of the prison grounds. Because of its size, Angola operates almost as a self-contained system. Inmates work in agriculture, maintenance, and industrial roles, helping sustain daily operations across the massive property. Security measures are strict and constant, with armed guards, watchtowers, and controlled movement throughout the facility. The enormity of Angola is not just a physical characteristic. It symbolizes the scale of mass incarceration in the United States and highlights how maximum security prisons are designed to isolate, control, and manage large populations deemed too dangerous for society. A defining feature of Angola Prison is that a significant portion of its inmate population is serving life sentences, many without the possibility of parole. This reality fundamentally shapes the environment of the prison, as for many incarcerated individuals, Angola is not a temporary place of punishment, but a permanent home. The knowledge that they may never leave the prison walls alters how inmates perceive time, hope, and purpose, creating a psychological burden that extends far beyond physical confinement. Life sentences at Angola often stem from violent offenses, including murder and armed robbery, leading to strict classification and heightened security. For inmates serving these sentences, the absence of a release date removes the traditional incentive of rehabilitation tied to freedom. Instead, personal growth and behavioral change become internal struggles rather than steps toward reintegration into society. This permanence can lead to despair, institutionalization, and emotional numbness, especially during the early years of incarceration. Over time, many inmates adapt to this reality by creating structured lives within the prison. Daily routines, work assignments, and participation in religious or educational programs provide a sense of stability in an otherwise unchanging future. Relationships formed inside the prison often replace those lost on the outside, and long-term inmates become deeply familiar with prison culture, rules, and hierarchies. The prevalence of life sentences transforms Angola into a community of men aging behind bars, confronting questions of remorse, accountability, and meaning while knowing their lives will likely end within the confines of the prison. Angola Prison is built on land that was once a slave plantation, and this history continues to cast a long shadow over the institution today. The name Angola itself is derived from the African country from which many enslaved people were taken and brought to Louisiana. This historical background is deeply embedded in the prison's physical layout, labor practices, and social structure, making the connection between past and present impossible to ignore. During the plantation era, enslaved people were forced to work the same fields that inmates now cultivate. After the Civil War, the land transitioned into a prison, but many of the systems of control and labor remained strikingly similar. Inmates were required to perform agricultural labor under harsh conditions, often supervised by armed guards on horseback, echoing the plantation overseer model. This continuity has led many critics to describe Angola as a modern extension of slavery through incarceration, particularly given the disproportionate number of black men imprisoned there. The historical legacy of the plantation influences not only the physical labor, but also the power dynamics within the prison. The emphasis on discipline, obedience, and productivity reflects long-standing systems of exploitation and racial inequality. For inmates, working the same land where enslaved people once suffered creates a profound psychological weight, reinforcing feelings of dehumanization and historical injustice. Angola's past as a slave plantation is not just a historical fact. It remains a living influence that shapes the daily experiences of those confined within its fences. Life inside Angola Prison is dominated by a powerful sense of permanence, reinforced by rigid routines and uncompromising security measures. For many inmates, especially those serving life sentences, the understanding that they will spend the rest of their lives within the prison creates an atmosphere where time feels suspended. Days blend into years, and years into decades, making routine the primary structure through which life is experienced. Each day follows a strict schedule governed by the institution. Inmates wake early, report for head counts, meals, and assigned work details, all under constant supervision. Movement is tightly controlled, and even small deviations from routine can result in disciplinary action. This predictability is designed to maintain order in a facility housing thousands of maximum security inmates, but it also reinforces a sense of confinement that extends beyond physical walls into the mind. Security at Angola is ever-present and highly visible. Armed guards, watchtowers, perimeter fences, and surveillance systems ensure that control is maintained at all times. Inmates are acutely aware that every action is observed and regulated. The combination of permanent confinement, repetitive routines, and strict security creates an environment where personal freedom is almost non-existent, shaping behavior, relationships, and identity within the prison system. Harsh living conditions are a defining aspect of daily life inside Angola Prison, affecting inmates physically, mentally, and emotionally. Many prisoners live in overcrowded housing units where privacy is minimal and personal space is limited. The constant presence of noise, strict regulations, and the threat of violence contribute to an atmosphere of tension and stress. Access to comfort, autonomy, and basic personal choice is severely restricted, reinforcing the punitive nature of maximum security confinement. Labor plays a central role in the structure of prison life at Angola. Inmates are routinely assigned to physically demanding work, most notably agricultural labor in the prison's vast fields. Under intense heat and challenging weather conditions, prisoners work long hours planting, harvesting, and maintaining crops. This labor is not optional for many inmates and is closely supervised by correctional officers, reflecting a system where work is both a means of control and a tool for maintaining the prison's self-sufficiency. Beyond agriculture, inmates also perform maintenance, construction, and industrial tasks essential to keeping the massive facility operational. While some prisoners view work as a way to pass time or gain a small sense of purpose, the demanding nature of the labor and minimal compensation often reinforce feelings of exploitation. The combination of difficult living conditions and compulsory labor underscores the severity of life at Angola, where punishment is deeply intertwined with daily survival. Despite its reputation as a harsh and unforgiving maximum security facility, Angola Prison includes a range of rehabilitation programs aimed at addressing personal growth and behavioral change among inmates. These programs exist within an environment primarily designed for punishment and control, creating a stark contrast between the goals of rehabilitation and the realities of permanent incarceration. For many inmates, these initiatives offer one of the few opportunities to find meaning and self-improvement within the prison walls. Educational programs at Angola allow inmates to pursue basic literacy, high school equivalency diplomas, and in some cases, higher education or vocational training. These programs help prisoners develop practical skills and intellectual engagement, even for those who may never re-enter society. Faith-based initiatives also play a significant role, with churches, religious services, and ministry-led programs providing spiritual guidance and emotional support. For many inmates, religion becomes a source of hope, discipline, and moral reflection in an otherwise restrictive environment. Participation in rehabilitation programs can influence prison culture by reducing violence and encouraging accountability. Inmates involved in these programs often take on mentorship roles, guiding younger or newly incarcerated individuals. Although these efforts do not erase the reality of long sentences or the strict security of Angola, they demonstrate an attempt to recognize inmates as capable of change. Rehabilitation at Angola exists not as a promise of freedom, but as a means of restoring dignity and purpose within lifelong confinement. Inside Angola Prison, many inmates struggle with the loss of personal identity that comes with incarceration, prompting a deep search for purpose within the confines of prison life. Stripped of their previous roles as family members, workers, or community participants, inmates are often reduced to identification numbers and criminal labels. Over time, this loss pushes many to redefine who they are and how they find meaning in an environment where freedom and self-expression are severely limited. Work assignments, educational pursuits, and religious involvement become primary ways for inmates to rebuild a sense of self. Some take pride in mastering trades, maintaining prison operations, or contributing to community-like structures within the facility. Others find identity through mentorship, offering guidance and protection to younger inmates, navigating the dangers and pressures of prison life. These roles help create a sense of responsibility and respect, even within a rigid system of control. For many long-term and life-sentenced inmates, purpose is no longer tied to release, but to personal transformation and survival. Acts of discipline, reflection, and service to others allow inmates to reclaim a sense of humanity. This ongoing search for meaning highlights the resilience of the human spirit, as individuals strive to maintain dignity and identity despite spending their lives behind bars. Angola Prison serves as a powerful reflection of broader issues within the United States criminal justice system, particularly those related to mass incarceration, sentencing policies, and systemic inequality. The sheer size of the prison and the high number of inmates serving life sentences illustrate how punitive approaches to crime have shaped the nation's correctional landscape. Angola embodies a system that prioritizes long-term confinement over rehabilitation, raising critical concerns about fairness and effectiveness. The demographics of Angola's inmate population further highlight long-standing racial and socioeconomic disparities within the justice system. A disproportionate number of incarcerated individuals come from marginalized communities, often with limited access to quality legal representation, education, and economic opportunity prior to incarceration. These inequalities contribute to higher rates of incarceration and harsher sentences, turning facilities like Angola into concentrated symbols of structural injustice. Policies such as mandatory minimums and limited parole opportunities are deeply visible within Angola's walls. Once sentenced, many inmates have little chance of release, regardless of personal growth or rehabilitation. This reality prompts debate about whether the justice system truly serves public safety or perpetuates cycles of punishment. Angola stands not only as a prison, but as a mirror reflecting the consequences of national decisions about crime, punishment, and human worth. One of the most striking aspects of Angola Prison, highlighted in documentaries and first-hand accounts, is the opportunity to see inmates as human beings rather than simply as criminals. Media portrayals and public perceptions often reduce prisoners to the worst acts they have committed, overlooking the complexity of their lives, emotions, and experiences. Inside Angola, however, it becomes clear that each individual carries a personal story filled with choices, consequences, regrets, and aspirations. Inmates at Angola display a range of emotions and behaviors that challenge stereotypes of hardened criminals. Some are deeply remorseful for their past actions and seek ways to make amends, whether through mentorship, education, or spiritual guidance. Others demonstrate resilience, creativity, and leadership within the prison community, helping maintain order and offering support to fellow prisoners. These stories reveal that even in an environment built for punishment, the capacity for growth, reflection, and empathy persists. The documentary portrayal of Angola allows audiences to engage with the humanity behind the prison walls, fostering a more nuanced understanding of incarceration. It encourages viewers to question simplistic narratives of good versus bad and consider how systemic factors, such as poverty, education gaps, and racial inequality, contribute to criminal behavior. By humanizing inmates, Angola challenges society to think critically about justice, redemption, and the potential for transformation, even in the most extreme circumstances. Angola Prison forces society to confront profound and often uncomfortable questions about the purpose of incarceration, the meaning of justice, and the balance between punishment and rehabilitation. The facility's scale, population, and conditions exemplify a system that emphasizes control and retribution. Yet within its walls exist programs and individuals striving for transformation, revealing tensions inherent in the U.S. criminal justice system. Observing life at Angola prompts a critical examination of whether prisons are designed primarily to punish, deter crime, rehabilitate offenders, or simply isolate those deemed dangerous. The high number of life sentences, combined with harsh living conditions and mandatory labor, underscores a punitive model that may prioritize societal retribution over individual rehabilitation. This raises ethical and philosophical questions. Do long-term or life sentences without parole serve justice, or do they perpetuate cycles of despair and dehumanization? How effective is a system that confines people indefinitely without addressing the root causes of their behavior? The presence of rehabilitation programs, such as educational courses, vocational training, and faith-based initiatives, adds further complexity, suggesting that even in a punitive environment, there is recognition of the potential for human growth and change. Angola also forces society to confront broader systemic issues, including racial disparities, economic inequality, and the social factors that contribute to crime. By highlighting both the harsh realities of prison life and the resilience of its inmates, Angola serves as a microcosm for the larger debate about what justice should look like. It challenges lawmakers, criminal justice professionals, and the public to consider whether the current approach to incarceration achieves its intended goals or whether it falls short, leaving behind generations of individuals trapped in a cycle of punishment with limited opportunities for redemption. In the end, Angola Prison is more than just a place of confinement. It is a mirror reflecting the complexities, failures, and possibilities of America's criminal justice system. It reminds us that behind every number and every sentence is a human story, one of struggle, resilience, and the search for meaning. Understanding life inside Angola challenges us to think critically about justice, punishment, and the potential for change, and it calls on society to consider not just how we punish, but how we can restore, rehabilitate, and reclaim the humanity of those behind bars.